Hello, everybody, and welcome. I feel very excited and honored to be here today to talk about how serverless computing enables microservices and micropayments. Okay. So, sorry, oops, I have technical difficulties. The fundamental goal of every application or platform is to be up and running 24/7, right? But it can happen. It can happen to us. It can happen to everybody else. It happened in the past. Failures, I won't name it. We all know who we are, right? Amazon, the CTO of Amazon.com always says, and I'm quoting, "Everything fails all the time." I just want to add this 2 cents. I don't know about you guys, but it usually doesn't happen when you're in the office in front of the computer. Right. So my name is Eugene Istrati. I'm the co-founder and CTO of Mito Group, well, technology partner. I've been doing this for almost 20 years, but it says 15 plus, but the last 7 years working on AWS. I'm certified on AWS. You will say probably I'm a little bit biased because I'll be talking a lot about AWS and how we're doing it as a technology partners and as a featured AWS Lambda partners. Okay. So today I would like to focus on 3 major concepts. So the first one, you probably figured that out, is serverless computing. The second one, though, is we'll dive deep into microservices. And the third is I'll try to show you 2 demos. One which emphasizes how the serverless and microservices on AWS working together and how we're helping some of the partners, or the customers, sorry, some of our customers to help them simplify operations and build new products. As well as the micropayments. It's one of the products that was, like I saw the other speakers earlier talking about side projects. This is one of our side projects. Okay. So let's start with the serverless. We all know, I assume, why you guys are here, because you know already what serverless is. There are a couple different definitions, although I like this one. It's a tweet from Adrian Cockcroft, former Netflix chief architect, who built up the Netflix the way we are seeing it today. And I don't know if you're aware that as of 2 days ago, he's part of AWS. So I like his quote, right? If your platform as a service can efficiently start instances in 20 milliseconds, right, that will run it in half a second, go ahead, call it serverless. All right? And this is my bias part. I won't dive deep into how many serverless options AWS provides. You've already heard the previous speaker in the other room got a lot of cool architectures describing how people are doing on AWS. What I would point out is that we've published this blog post last year, or it's almost already 2 years ago. How can you do it by yourself on AWS? One comment, though, our approach is for the full stack. So it's not only AWS Lambda and API Gateway. So that's what I will go into next. So you've learned a little bit of serverless. You've played a little bit on AWS or using other providers. It doesn't matter that much, right? You need to understand the concept. So how do you would love all of us to build new products and everything to start from scratch. The reality is that we have to take existing ones and transform them. Right? So I would like to show you how we did for some of our customers. And it's assuming that you're already running on AWS. It's assuming that you already have at least services-oriented or follow the principles of services-oriented architecture. Okay. And I will go through this step by step, meaning layer by layer, or tier by tier, describe how we've done it. Okay. So First question, how do we transform the web tier into a serverless one, right? And here's the AWS provides a couple of services like S3, like CloudFront. Let me ask you a question. Are you guys have anyone used S3 before? Raise your hand. Okay, perfect. Did you ever SSH into those servers? All right, I'm good with that. So what we do is we just take all of the assets or all of your application front end and we just put on S3, right? Because hello, yeah. A lot of people think of S3 as a storage service. We think of S3 actually as a cluster of web servers that are behind load balancers, right? Highly scalable, highly available, right? But they turned off the server-side scripting, right? So you cannot use languages, server-side languages like Python, PHP, Java, and so on and so forth, right? The only thing that you have to use, client-side like JavaScript, okay? Modern JavaScript frameworks like AngularJS or React or whatever, Vue.js, which is now the one trendy one, right? They caught up a lot lately to other popular dynamic frameworks like Django or Symfony or Sprint and so on, Spring and so on and so forth, right? And they are SEO friendly, meaning that you can take your existing routes and you can arrange your application, transform your application by keeping your existing structure, right? So it applies to existing applications as well as new applications. But the most important benefit of having this approach is that it's completely serverless. One of the benefits of being completely serverless is that you don't have to pre-scale the infrastructure. And I personally like to point this out, right? It actually scales at the size of the provider, right? So all of the services that we are using, it scales to the AWS size, right? Which is virtually infinite. Some people try to guess what is the capacity limit. Well, Amazon officially doesn't point it out, so. But that's fine. I like a quote of a customer which says, AWS will scale, you'll reach your budget faster than AWS will reach its physical limits, right? And the bigger it gets, the better it is for all of us, and actually the lower it costs, right? It's getting cheaper. Now, let's go to the web tier, and how do we transform the web tier into the serverless one? AWS Lambda, the way I personally like to describe it, is a kind of like self-managed container service. Right? You, by design, you get a very fast API, a very fast backend, right? That you can access over the APIs. Also, it is secure through IAM, which I didn't mention on the first part, but it's for all the AWS components, right? It's secure through a security service that's called Identity and Access Management, IAM. And you guys don't need to worry about the underlying infrastructure, correct? So because it's an accelerated backend, right, we get out of the box just the service where we write some small functions, we upload it on the service side, and we just trigger through APIs. Well, the AWS Lambda function, AWS Lambda APIs, they are not RESTful APIs. It's just a convenience, right? And more than that, if you guys need so RESTful APIs, you need versioning, you need metering, and so on and so forth, which API Gateway provides out of the box. You can use in conjunction. If you don't like it, you can go directly to AWS Lambda. Nobody stops you to write the code and trigger it directly from your application. And again, like in case of the web tier, it is completely serverless. The same benefits, right? Low cost, it comes pre-scaled, low maintenance, so on. Last but not the least, let's see how we transform the data tier, right? we encourage everybody to use DynamoDB, right? The reason is that the only thing that you need to take care or you think about is reads per second and writes per second. Right? Everything else is completely secured through IAM. There is no need to worry about the underlying infrastructure. But the problem is with DynamoDB, it's not a problem, but it's the reality with DynamoDB, the more you provision, even if you don't consume, you have to pay for it. Right? That's why we particularly use for those eventual consistency use cases, right? Not for all of them, but eventual consistency use cases, trying to write to DynamoDB. If the write fails, we put it in a queue. And then the queue retries every couple of seconds or every couple of minutes, depends on the use case. Right? The same benefits, completely serverless. I will repeat myself. But if you have some constraints, and some of the customers, our customers had constraints migrating totally to DynamoDB. Some of them developer skill set, and they want to be agnostic to what resources that they have in house. The best RDS Aurora is the best RDMS database out there. It's close to serverless, but you still need to think how do you provision some of that infrastructure. Okay. Well, I hope you guys excited enough to do the migrations by yourself. So now we talked about serverless. So why do we need the microservices? Why do we need to talk about microservices in this case? Right. So let's first go to the definition of microservices. Right. What does that mean? Well, microservices, in a nutshell, it's just an architectural pattern, right? That allows you as a developer, as a developer to apply it anywhere. Right? Nowadays, with the help of these serverless infrastructures, developers can manage everything by themselves, because actually the cloud helps you to manage 60, 70, 80% of your work, and you as a developer just focus on what makes the difference for your business, for your company, right? So you can apply it to every layer. You can apply it to the application layer. You can apply it to the platform. You can apply it to the infrastructure. Right? That's how Amazon is using for their business, Amazon.com, the retail, and they show it to developers. You can actually see some really nice docs. And I personally like to think of this as a shredder for software. Right? It's great that you get the very small, easy, nice components, but it's probably a problem if you start doing manually putting them all together back. Right? I don't recommend you to do that. What really excites me, and I know about you guys, is that microservices as a term or as a trend didn't exist 2 years ago, according to Google Trends. I talked to some people that worked at Microsoft, and they're saying, yeah, that's exactly what we're doing, we're just not calling it microservices. Right? Netflix is being doing since 2009, exactly the same. They're not calling it microservices. So that being said, I would like to go to the first demo of the day, and I would like to show, we have a representative from Manning, we have a representative of some of the authors that wrote these books, and I would like to show you what we're doing for Manning publications. All right, who here knows or heard about Manning? Very cool. I wanted for the demo just to come here. This is the Manning website, by the way, right? And just do serverless and pick up the first book, which, by the way, is written by one of the organizers, Peter Zbarsky. Peter, are you here? Damn it. Oh, he ran away completely? He's not coming back? All right. technical difficulty is that this book is not published yet. Right? Manning has a program which is called MIP, Early Access Program. You can get access to the books while they are written. Right? I won't go into the details why the MIPs are not working as they should. So my second best choice is Amazon Web Services in action. And I just met the author of this book. We are splitting the share. That's why I'm showcasing his book. No, just kidding, guys. So this is the book the way you're getting right now. Right? You're buying the whole book. You're getting different formats. You can read it on different devices. And you get it in standard EPUB formats, or for your Kindles, or for your PDF that you can read on the train, and so on and so forth. Right. One of the components that is missing is the standard web. I want to browse through this. I want to share, to search through the book. Right. I want to be able to share some of the things from the book, and that's why we've partnered with Manning to start building those components. This is literally private beta. Right? I got the agreement of the publisher and the owner of Manning to demo it, and we'd like to show you the same book in this new application. The whole application, as I mentioned before, is built completely on a serverless environment. So the architecture, I think I have a next slide about the architecture. So this is the book. You can navigate through this. You can take and you can select it, and it's kind of like a medium style where you can do a lot of things about this book, so it's more interactive, right? Somebody asked me about if it's responsive. The answer is yes, so you can look on your mobile device, right? And so on and so forth. One of the cool things that I want to point out, and I'll move on to the, I wanted to show also the code, but since it's still work in progress, I don't think it makes sense, right? One of the features that I personally like, and that's why I wanted to demo this, and I went through all the trouble to get the approvals, is that Manning, with their early access program, is trying to get access to you guys to small chunks of the content. And with this new idea and this new feature is that you can actually reveal some of the chunks of the book before actually buying it, right? Or you can buy small pieces, and that's the micropayments piece, right? Small pieces of the book, you read the book, you say, yeah, this is exactly the book that I want. And then you buy the whole thing, right? So here it is. For every book, they want to provide you, by the way, can you guys hear at the end? See at the end? Yeah? Because I can increase a little bit, right? Okay. One of the features is that they want to provide 25 free tokens, which you can apply on any paragraph inside the book, right? So it's very simple, something like this, okay? So you get a couple of paragraphs that are for free in every chapter, and then everything else is what Manning is called scrambled, right? You cannot read what this means, but it's still regular text, right? And once you scroll down through the application, right? Go here and you see something. Oh, this is a nice picture, and it's called Figure 1.2. And I see this paragraph. It talks about Figure 1.2. So let me see, what does it say, right? And it says John is a CIO of a medium-sized e-commerce business, and blah blah blah. Okay, those are the user experience and the intuitiveness that we together with Manning would try to provide inside this new application. It's in private beta. We will hopefully be releasing soon as an addition to their existing application, and step by step allowing customers and readers and learners to learn faster, to get access faster to the things or to the content that matters to them. Okay? All right, moving on. while working with these customers, we got to different use cases that we never think before. Actually, we thought, but it was of science fiction when we started 2 years ago. One of them, which we published really recently, is how do you do blue-green deployments for serverless powered applications on AWS. Okay, so this is the blog post. I don't know if some of you heard or seen. By the way, at the end, this is published already on the SlideShare. So I'll give you the link at the end. You guys can get all these things. And Peter told me that this is recorded, so you'll see the talks in a week or so. And that's why we're proud of working with these customers who help us to improve the functionality. And this will be open sourced hopefully by the end of the year. But this just tells you and shows you how we are doing blue-green deployments. Right? And well, moving on. This is our second presentation. So to emphasize even further how we're using serverless options, we've done our own project. AdTech Media is it's an acronym for advertising technology for media companies, right? And what it does, it helps publishers and content providers, right, to generate new revenue streams or complementary revenue streams in the context of ad blocking. A lot of people, me including, blocks ads. I use ad blocking on all of my browsers, on all of my devices, mobile, desktop, laptop, iPads, it doesn't matter, right? Because it's just a better user experience when I load those news websites. But the problem is that I am a little bit selfish, and those guys who are actually doing all the heavy work to create this great content, they don't make money. Because they based their work on the advertising. So what we've ended up doing, we started a little bit 2 months ago, building a platform, a micropayments platform, that will help them to monetize regardless if the ad blocking is enabled or not. So I would like to show you the demo and hear your opinions if you guys have any. Okay. So AdTech Media, this is the website, adtechmedia.io. .com is already taken, sorry. I want to go to the demo and basically explain that we want per article to put a way for your readers, when they get to that article, they take one simple decision. Pay from your pocket through micropayments, or watch an ad, and the advertiser pays the publisher or the content provider, and then continue reading without have any disruptions. I know about you guys, but it happens all the time, especially on mobile devices. I'm reading something, I get an ad, something that disrupts my reading experience. And that's why I installed the ad blockers, right? So, but the demo is not only this one, right? What I want to emphasize is that we've built it white labeled and data-driven, right? To emphasize the white label is, this is an website, this is an article that we took from Bloomberg.com. We didn't change absolutely anything, right? You can see the ad. Oh, sorry, a couple of days ago I actually removed the ad blocker from here. Let me do it here. So, Bloomberg. All right, come on. No? Oh, the ticket. Why I was saying come on is that I know if whoever reads the Bloomberg articles, it pops up something that you are using the ad blocker, and please remove it. That's why I was expecting. So, as you can see, it's exactly like While I start scrolling, I see a couple of paragraphs that are displayed for free, and then everything else is hidden except the images. Right? So when I click here on unlock this premium content, I get a nice pop-up that says, guys, journalism is not free. Well, it's free for you to read, but to create it's not free, right? Especially quality one. So would you like to pledge to pay for it from your pocket, or just watch an ad and continue reading it for free? Okay? I pledge it, done. So I wanted to emphasize how fast it is, because it actually triggers up on Lambda and does all the executions and all of those things technical that I'll try, if I have time, I'll go into the details. Okay. But besides that, and this is it's just the alpha version of a plugin that we've built for WordPress. And we really tried hard to get it for this conference. So we'll be publishing it as a WordPress plugin, Drupal plugin for free, and the experience is exactly the same. And as you can see, sorry, let me refresh. Here for technical difficulties. Let me switch back to, yeah. So alpha version, sorry, it didn't work in Firefox. The same experience as I showed you in the Bloomberg. It's customized for this fonts and styles and so on and so forth. It's exactly the same, just allows you to see the images, right? But you cannot read the text. When you go back, you can either click here or click on this button, and if I pay it, it will be here. You can also refund it, and so on and so forth. So I don't want to bore to spend too much time to get into we're at the technical conference. I'd like to show you some of the code, right? Sublime. I think it is. Okay. Okay. So we're a little bit biased. That's the truth. We're using only JavaScript. JavaScript on the front end, JavaScript on the back end. We don't support other languages. I don't expect us support in the near future. We also the creators of the open source framework, which is called Deep Framework. It's just a collection of Node.js libraries that allows us to abstract the services. The developers who are not familiar with the entire stack on AWS don't need to start learning all those services. We're trying to get that complexity away from them. A regular application using this approach will have at least 10 services from AWS, at least. That's like fundamental, foundational. We're using, I think, 15. And if you guys want the details, let's talk after the presentation. We also organize the code into kind of like a microservice, as well as say components, right? We call them micro applications. Surprise, surprise. And where we have front end, back end, data tiers, right? And every tier is using the most recent technologies. We're using Angular 2 on the front end, right? With Webpack and with Babel compilers and so on and so forth. We use Node.js. We develop it locally using Node 6.9. Apparently now it's already 7. And but because AWS Lambda supports 4.3, we have to compile it back, right? Using Babel to upload it as a zip file on AWS Lambda. We're using blue-green deployments, right? So every time when we have a new feature or we have a new set of functionality that we need to push into production, we deploy a completely new stack. We make sure that the data tiers are synchronized. Right now, some of this stuff happens manually. That's why it's not fully functional and useful, so we cannot open source it, right? And we just switch the traffic from the old environment to the new environment, right? So just to show you a little bit of code on here's the front end. It's an Angular 2 application, uses components, uses models, right? Let's see one of the components. Let's say this is the home component. We're using TypeScript. Before that, we were using ES6 as a standard, and just name it. Okay. I think this is the routing piece. This is the routing piece. This takes the modules. On the front end, what's important is that we're using npm as our package manager, and we actually added additional functionality, and that's why we needed to build a CLI that streamlines the whole development process. By streamlining, I mean the development environment runs locally. We don't upload and push everything on the cloud and testing on the cloud. It takes some time, right? So we're simulating S3, which is a simple file system. We simulate DynamoDB using DynamoDB local. We're simulating Lambda by using just a Docker container, right? And so on. And once the developer builds a working application or working component, we use just a deploy command that does both the provisioning of all the resources that you need, a couple of S3 buckets, one a public S3 bucket, a private S3 bucket, provisions CloudFront, right? Because CloudFront, the distribution, you have a lot of things that you need to think about caching, right? Thank you. Apparently I have 5 more minutes, so I'll try to stop here and leave some time for questions.